portion. So,
yeah, thanks, Damien. So without taking much of anybody's time, Melinda, I believe you can bring your slides up. Melinda is going to start us off. Thank you.
There, is that visible?
Yes.
Thank you. Those were wonderful presentations. I'm really glad we're able to follow all of those. And I would just say, Dr. Ampazidis, I don't think it was luck that got you your phase one. I think it was a very valuable innovation. So we're excited about all the innovations. Dr. Kirsch too, also. I'm Melinda Kaufman. I'm the SBIR TTR program coordinator. And we have two of our other really exceptional SBIR TTR staff here. Tammy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Tammy Neville, and I work as a program specialist with the SBIR and STTR programs. And I also work specifically with the 8.4 Conservation Natural Resources topic area.
Dr. Nahar, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Melinda. I'm Nurul Nahar. I'm a program specialist for SBIR STTR programs. As Tammy and Melinda, I look overall all topic areas for the SBIR program and also specifically assigned to 8.8 for the biofuels and bioproducts 1-2. Dr. Yanis, your project was fantastic. It was not luck, and good to hear that it was not too tough, because that's the complaint we hear from the small business, that putting together application is hard because they're not from the academia. So I do understand, but it's good to hear that it was not too difficult, but then innovation was good. Actually, I was thinking that I had never seen your name, and then remembered Matt Donovan was the one always emailing about different things. So different PD. So good to have you here, and then excited to those presentation. I think those were for 8.13, if I'm not mistaken, right? Program area, topic area 8.13 you did. Looking forward for the next round of the proposal for phase 2. We are excited for that one as well. And it all goes to the peer panel process. We just administer or monitor. Personally, no opinion, even though we are very excited about your technologies. Good to see all this great presentation. The first one was great too, like understanding Dr. Metia's comments on certain personality needed to go for the innovation. It's a great presentation. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
Yes, you all do wonderful slides also. I need to add that. So I'll go ahead and get started and just tell you a little bit more about our program. STTR is new this year, and we'll talk about that more as we go along. But we are the USDA SBIR STTR program, and we're housed within the National Institute of Food and Agriculture at the USDA. We are really happy, and I'm really honestly honored to be here at the University of Florida with the Institute of Food and Agricultural Science Research Division. So thank you so much for inviting us. These are some awards that we pulled together from Florida. I'm sure these are active awards with USDA SBIR. These are not the only awards SBIR has had in Florida, but these are active right now. So I think you'll see some familiar names there. Some of them are connected to the University of Florida. Not all of them are, I don't believe, but some of them are. And as you can see, we have 10 topic areas, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But these, span across many topic areas. So we're very excited to have these. So SBIR and STTR programs have these 4 goals as a foundation. We want to stimulate technological innovations within the private sector, and we want to strengthen the role of small business in the United States. Also, at the same time, increase the commercialization of these innovations because small businesses are vulnerable. And so this is hopefully a little boost. The grant money is a little boost to get these innovations into commercialization. And last but certainly not least, we are very focused on fostering and encouraging participation by underrepresented small business owners. This is the USDA's non-discrimination policy. I won't read the whole thing. They do ask us to summarize it by reading the first paragraph, but I do want you to know that we take this very seriously. All of NIFA takes it seriously, and the SBIR STTR program takes it very seriously. So in accordance with the federal civil rights law and U.S. Department of Agricultural civil rights regulations and policy, the USDA, its agencies, offices, and employees and institutions participating in or administering USDA programs are prohibited from discriminating based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, gender identity, including expression, sexual orientation, disability, age, marital status, family or parental status, income derived from a public assistance program, political beliefs, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity in any program or activity conducted or funded by USDA. Remedies and complaint filing deadlines vary by program or incidents. So USDA, SBIR, and STTR programs are really similar, and we'll go over the major differences, but both of them have 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And phase 1 is for just proving the feasibility of your project, the technical merit, and the commercial potential. It's really focused on proof of concept. While phase 2, when you move to phase 2, which is a longer period of time, you're continuing with some of the research and development, but at the same time, you're ramping up the commercialization piece of your innovation. And then phase 3 is much more focused on commercialization. Phase 3 is generally not funded by the SBIR program or STTR program. And so that is the piece where you go out and find private funding alternatives. So our budget is about $34 million. Most of that is for SBIR. STTR is a much smaller program. Phase 1 and phase 2 are funded at the same amounts for SBIR and STTR. So phase 1, the award size varies from $125,000 to $175,000. SBIR, as we heard earlier, SBIR runs 8 months, while STTR runs 12 months. And then for phase 2, they're exactly the same. They're 24-month projects, and the award amount is $600,000. Now, here are some of the major differences between SBIR and STTR. So as far as a nonprofit research institution or federally funded R&D center participation, that is an option for SBIR, but it's a requirement for STTR. And the percent of participation by the research institution or federally funded R&D center for SBIR is 33% or less for phase 1, and it's less than 50% for phase 2. For STTR, it is 30 to 60%, and that's both for phase 1 and phase 2. So they differ in that way. Another important way that they differ is the primary employment as a principal investigator. So with SBIR, the principal investigator must be employed with a small business, but STTR is more flexible in that they can be either employed with a nonprofit research institution or with a small business. So that does give a little bit more flexibility. A formal cooperative agreement is required only for STTR, and it has to outline the intellectual property rights. There's no such requirement for SBIR. And this is just the last couple of years that we have data for. So there were in FY21 and FY22, you can see that we stay pretty steady for phase 1 at 15% success rate for award. For phase 2, it's been creeping up in the last several years. So we have around, I usually say between 45 and 50%, but it's creeping closer to a 50% success rate. So some of the success metrics that we have are sales of technology and services, also licenses, and of course, the creation of new jobs for the US economy. Some of the features of SBIR STTR are that the ideas have to be investigator initiated. And then awards are based on, of course, the scientific and technical merit of the project. That's very important, but also the commercial potential of the innovation and also the PI and company qualification. And for SBIR, subcontracting to universities and federal labs is allowed and welcome. For STTR, it's required. And then we also have technical and business assistance. So what is technical and business assistance? We call it TABA or TABA, however you want to pronounce it. It was introduced originally as the John S. McCain National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2019. And it can, this is just a small sampling of what TABA can include. Things like help with IP legal costs, marketing research, activities related to manufacturing. And this is, again, in no way a comprehensive list, but it's just to help bolster the business side. You have the scientific side and you have the business side. And this is just to kind of help bolster the business side of the SBIR and STTR grants. The budget for TABA is for phase 1, it's $6,500, and most of that $6,500 is used to create your commercialization plan for phase 2. Because if you remember, the commercialization piece really starts to ramp up in phase 2. And so you're, while you might mention commercialization in phase 1, you'll really focus more in your proposal and for phase 2 on commercialization. So that $6,500 can be used to help develop that commercialization plan to make you more competitive for phase 2. In phase 2, it's a $50,000 amount for TABA. And let me back up and just explain, this does not come out of your budget. This is something on top of your budget. It's something the USDA provides for you. So for phase 2, it's $50,000. You have the option to access for technical and business assistance. And that is, again, to accelerate the commercialization piece. One thing I want to mention, there's a little difference between phase 1 and phase 2 with TABA, and sometimes it confuses people. For phase 1, you can use, we have an in-house provider. Right now it's LARTA, and you can just submit your proposal as is with your budget and ask for TABA services, and you will have access to those. You can also pull together your own TABA services if you like, and put it in your budget for $6,500. For phase 2, there is no in-house service. So you have to submit your proposal for TABA services along with your application. And so we've had some people apply for phase 2 and thought then they could then access TABA services, but it's a little different in phase 2. So please plan for that. These are our topic areas. We have 10 of them, and you can see they encompass pretty much all of agriculture, and each topic area is broad, and we cast a wide net in order that we can capture as many innovations as possible, because we can't anticipate what those brilliant ideas are out there. So Everything from forest and related resources. We have 2, plant production and protection. One's focused on biology and one's focused on engineering. Of course, we have animal production and protection, conservation of natural resources. Food science and nutrition is a large topic area. We get a lot of applications. We have aquaculture and we have biofuels and bio-based products. Now, the 2 that are in lighter blue or gray, I'm not sure which color that is those are designated with an asterisk because they're a little different. If you'll recall, the rewards range from 125,000 to 175,000. So for 8.12 and 8.6, they're $125,000 for phase 1, and while they're $175,000 for all the other dark blue topic areas. And the reason it's lower for 8.6 and 8.12 is because these 2 topic areas do not require a completely new innovation. I know it's a little redundant, but it's a way to emphasize it. You can take an existing innovation and an existing technology and apply it in an innovative way. So apply it in some way that has never been done before, while you can't do that with the other topic areas. And this slide we keep in here just to remind everyone that agriculture is scientific. And so all of this is not inclusive of everything that every type of science that we deal with, but this is a good sampling. But if you have some technology in any of these areas of science, it might be worth your time to think about whether or not there is an agricultural application for your innovation. So just a reminder that we deal with all types of science. This is a typical timeline for the programs. They don't always run exactly like this, but this is what we try to do every year. So right now we're hoping for a release. It's a planned release in early July of the phase 1. And then the proposal deadline is actually this year, we're going to try to make it September. And then the reviews will be December, possibly November, December, if we can meet that that September deadline. And then the start date is always July 1 for phase 1. So that's how that goes. And phase 2, it's important to know that some SBIR programs have a direct to phase 2, but we do not. You have to have a phase 1 and you have to successfully completed it or be on your way to completing it successfully in order to apply for phase 2. And those solicitations are released typically in December and the proposal deadline is in March. And then we do reviews and April through June, and start date is September 1st. A little bit about the USDA SBIR review process. So proposals are evaluated by a confidential peer review, and we use outside experts, a lot from academia, some from industry, nonprofits, and sometimes from federal labs. All of the applicants receive copies of the reviews, the reviewers' comments, the reviewers' suggestions to make your proposal more competitive. So if you were not, remember there's a 15% success rate for phase 1. So if you were not successful the first cycle, what we suggest is that you really look over those reviewers' comments, and because they are geared at making your proposal more competitive. And so if you look over those and tweak your proposal to meet those, you can apply during the next solicitation cycle. So you can apply for phase 1 as many times as you like. For phase 2, you're only able to apply one time. So that's important. That's another important distinction to know. So if you need to skip a year, since phase 1 is 8 months for SBIR and 12 months for STTR, if you need to skip a year in order to have the best phase 2 proposal, that is fine. That's not a problem. A little bit about university and government and scientists' role in USDA SBIR program. So this is just for SBIR, not STTR. So scientists can serve as consultants or receive a subcontract and continue to work full-time at their home institution. They're limited to no more than 1/3 of the phase 1 award or 1/2 of the phase 2 award. And the scientists can serve as the principal investigator by reducing their employment at their home institution to 49% or less for the duration of the grant. It's usually not acceptable to use the lab resources at the university or government facility. We like for SBIR recipients to use secure other lab resources. This is for STTR. So again, one of the advantages is that the principal investigator can be employed at either place, the research institution or the small business. So the small business has to, for STTR, the small business has to perform 40% of the work on the project. And the research institution must perform a minimum of 30% of the research and development. The other 30% can be outsourced to either the research institution or a different subcontractor. And I'd like to mention here that when you apply, there is an option to apply for either SBIR or STTR. And the way you would do that is to make sure the amount of research performed by the research institution is between 30 and 33%. So as you can see here for STTR, the research institution must perform at least 30%. But if we go back, I guess it's not on this slide, up to 33% for SBIR. So if you hit that spot between 30% and 33%, you can, on your application, you can check both, that you're applying for both, which really means either. So you would be competing in both SBIR and STTR. We also have cooperative research and development agreements that we recognize and encourage. So we call them CRADAs. So you can develop a cooperative research and development agreement with a federal lab or a federal license for innovation. It is one of the only advantages that is for SBIR and STTR, for SBIR in particular, is that if we have two proposals and they're both deemed by the peer review panels to be of equal merit, then the one that has the CRADA agreement will automatically be the one chosen. And these agreements are run through for the Agricultural Research Service, or ARS, in their technology transfer office. So if that is something you're interested in, you can contact one of the SBIR staff and we can help link you up with the ARS office. The next few slides are just some pointers that might improve your chances of award success. Make sure that your application has high scientific and/or technical merit, and that there is some commercial potential. And balance the high risk, high reward. We welcome high risk, high reward proposals. We recognize that small businesses often are disruptors of industries and sectors. And so we want to support that. So if you feel like your innovation and your business falls into the high risk, high reward, don't shy away, we'll welcome you. Make sure you have good consultants. That makes a difference. And if you if there's an opportunity and you're so inclined, a CRADA agreement is a great idea. And then demonstrate that you do have some business expertise. We do have Taba to help you, but having someone who has some business expertise on your team is
We lose Melinda?
so.
Okay. We lost you for a minute there, Melinda.
Am I still there?
Yeah, now you are.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what happened.
It was even less than a minute. It was very brief.
Are very important. So if you could get, there's not a number that we ask for, but maybe around 2 or 3. I'm sorry about my computer. I don't know what is going on with it. But at least 2 or 3 or 4 letters of support will really, the review panel really looks at those. So really, I highly suggest that you get those. And then in your proposal, if you can demonstrate that you have a really clear understanding of how your innovation is going to go enter into the market. And once you enter into the market, how are you going to sustain yourself in the market? So the application process for phase 1. So you do have to do some registrations. These are just really practical things, but they're important things because it has kept people from applying sometimes. So you register your small business with SBIR.gov, and then your end goal is to register on grants.gov because that is where you're going to be submitting your application. But in order to do that, you have to register on SAM.gov. And that is the thing we encourage people to do as soon as possible because it can take some time. And that is where you'll require a UEI. And that it's very important. And if you can just do that as soon as possible, you'll get that out of the way and have that ready. And then some more advice for phase 1 applicants. So those 10 topic areas, if you know which topic area that your innovation fits into, please feel free to contact the national program leader and ask for a consult. The way I suggest to do it, you don't have to do it this way, but the way I suggest is to write a very simple paragraph, an informal paragraph in an email to the national program leader, explaining your innovation and then ask for a consult. That way it gives the national program leader just kind of a minute to wrap his or her head around that. So that's what you can do that. If you're not sure or you feel like your innovation fits into more than one topic area, which is common because our topic areas are broad, we have a USDA SBIR STTR national program leader. He also serves as the biofuels and bio-based products topic national program leader for that topic area. His name is Dr. David Songstad. His name and contact information will be at the end of the slide deck. But you can, he's familiar with all the topic areas. And if you're not sure, you can contact him for a consult first before you talk to the topic area that, specific topic area that you think you might apply to. Make sure that you follow the application guidelines for formatting, page limits, and required documents. So after the close, after the deadline for the RFA to close, the first thing we do is go into, Tammy and Narun go into an administrative review, and they make sure that everybody's followed the formatting, page limits, and required documents. We have to do this to have some level of fairness and equity. So if you have squeezed too many, if you've made your font smaller or you've made a single space, you get more, you actually get more time to explain your project, and that is not really equitable to everybody else. So if you don't follow all the guidelines for these things in your application, you won't make it past the administrative review. You won't go to panel, and then you have to wait another year. So I know I talked a long time about that, but it happens a lot. So we lose a lot of people in the administrative review. So please look in the RFA. And then make sure that your application responds to all the review criteria, and that's all listed in the RFA. So in other words, please read the RFA. It's there, it has most of the answers. You can download it and make it searchable. And so some more advice. So for phase one, if you can just take a short time and a short piece in your proposal to provide a vision for where you see your innovation going. How is it going to benefit the American public and beyond? What's the market opportunity? It's more like your dream of where you want to see this innovation go and how it will be beneficial to agriculture and to the American people. And then sell the importance of the project in alignment with those USDA priorities that are listed in the RFA. So look those over closely and figure out where your innovation aligns with USDA priorities, and make sure you make those connections in your project narrative. And then, of course, you need to provide a detailed experimental plan for your proof of concept. And then also just say a little bit about the commercial potential, and then show connectivity with those communities, like with those letters of support. There are quite a few application assistance resources. Down at the bottom, if you go to this website at SBIR.gov, local assistance, and you put in the state in which you live, then it will auto-populate with all the assistance organizations available in your state. So there's a small business development center. There's at least one in every state. There's 62 in total in the US. And then there are also federal, state, and state technology partnership programs, or FAST programs. And these provide assistance to underrepresented small business owners. So those are also great programs. USDA SBIR STTR program has been providing outreach to foster and encourage participation by underrepresented populations. We provided outreach to SBIR assistant organizations and presented an overview of the program to those that are interested. We provide more than 3 virtual overviews of the program per month, and we're starting to do more in person now that we're coming out of the pandemic. Participate in the Small Business Administration's SBIR outreach events like the road tours. We have one coming up in July, with possibly another, that'll be in the Midwest, and then possibly another one in September. We have booth and informal consultations at the SBIR Tech Connect conference, which is twice a year. This year it'll be in June and in November. And we are starting to do more in-person events. We also, just to increase the amount of outreach we contracted with an organization, ICF Next, so that we could increase both the breadth and depth of our outreach. They helped connect small businesses with researchers and can assist them with developing proof of concept research projects. They connect innovators with small development, all of those assistance organizations like small business development centers. They provide application workshops. That'll be coming up like at the end of May or early June. There'll be application workshops to target communities, particularly those that don't have access to accelerators or state SBIR coordinators. And they help to connect potential applicants with an organization that will guide the agencies through a step-by-step process for their application. So we're really excited. This is our first year to work with ICF Next, and we're really excited about it. We're learning how to outreach underrepresented small business owners in a much more organized way, more effective way, I think. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to go through some USDA SBIR success stories. Since this is our first year for STTR, we don't really have success stories yet for STTR, but we're looking forward to having those in the future. So a recent success story is Prairie Aquatech, and what they do is they have a process to convert soybean meal to fish feed using microbial enhancement. The name of their product is MePro, and as you can see here, they've had a lot of commercialization success. They're currently producing 30,000 tons of MePro. Stony Creek Colors, they developed an agricultural supply chain to replace synthetic dyes with plant-based drop-in solutions. The name of their product is BioPreferred, and they've had a lot of commercialization success, sales of high purity BioPreferred natural indigo dye to the world leading brand customers. Sonside Wind is another one. They've had 7 grants from 2002 to 2014. They manufacture these small wind turbines, and these successfully compete with rooftop solar, even in areas that have moderate wind speeds. So we're very excited about this innovation. Imbrux, this is a much older success story, but we keep it because it just shows you the possibilities with where SBIR can take you. They developed higher and superior technology for ovo vaccination. The technology provided benefits to enhance efficiency and bird performance. So in 2001, they had $44 million in revenues, and they were soon after purchased by Pfizer. So that's how big an SBIR grant can help you go. We have a fairly new brochure we encourage you to look at. We're quite proud of it. So, and it has a few more success stories in there. So please, if you have time, go to our website and look at our brochure. I can't thank you enough for inviting us. Again, I'm Melinda Kaufman. I'm the SBIR Program Coordinator. Dr. David Songstad is our National Program Leader that I spoke about earlier. And if you're not sure which topic area would be the best fit for your innovation, you can contact Dr. Songstad, and that's his email address. And then you met Tammy Neville and Dr. Nurun Nahar, and they're our excellent program specialists. This is our website, nifa.usda.gov/SBIR, and I hope you'll visit our website. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Melinda. The floor is open now for questions. Before that, I wanted to see if Tammy or Nurun had quick comments to make.
So thank you for inviting us. Here we are to answer any questions. In the post, Tammy put a lot of important links. So please look at that. If anyone needed any local assistance, that's the important website. And I have also posted our brochure. This is a QR code, so you can just look at some of the success stories and also the program or topic areas. But we'll be happy to answer any of the questions you have.
Thanks, Nurun. Tammy?
No, yeah, I just, like Nurun said, I dropped in several links while Melinda was talking that are just resource links that were either in her slides or resource links that in order to find places to register with SBA and that kind of stuff. Looking forward to asking or answering any questions you guys might have.
Well, thank you. Thanks once again. So the floor is open for Q&A, and this can be a very informal discussion. Not all of us may like to type out long questions, so feel free to raise your hands and go off the mute button and ask your questions. And while you're thinking of a question, Melinda or any of you, how consistent are the timelines for these proposals being published? As in, can folks start preparing, keeping in mind that the timelines are not going to change year to year?
Usually that's a cool question, Shija, and usually they are on time. We had 1 year when our phase 1 was delayed until early September.
November. Oh, the publication was delayed. Sorry. Yeah.
But usually they are published in July. So I believe we're shooting for July 5th, but it wouldn't be unusual for that to move a couple of weeks through the approval process. But I would say most of the time it's July.
And as Melinda pointed out, we did move our deadline up for this fiscal year. We're looking to try and avoid reviewing during the holiday season. And so we're testing out a earlier deadline to see how that works. If we do have success, we may move that deadline up to September on a more reoccurring basis.
I see, that's useful. So it's just a pointer to everybody on the call. July is fast approaching, so this is a good time to be having these discussions. So related to that question, Melinda and others, you discussed broad program areas, but then year to year there will be priority areas. How much does the language change, in the sense that how much do your inventions and your ideas need to be tied to the priority areas in the call for that year? Is that, and we are used to doing that in some of our other calls and when we respond to some of our other flagship programs, but how tight does that need to be? How much does it fluctuate and so on? Can you comment a little bit on that?
The priority areas don't change greatly from year to year. They might change some, or some may be added. And they're also fairly broad. So you can, I think most applicants can tie their innovation to probably more than one priority area. As far as our SBIR, STTR specific topic areas, each one of those is very broad. So in the RFA, you'll see examples of things within a topic area that are of interest, but those are just examples. If if you have something that's in the aquaculture field, then that's whatever you can come up with, it will be considered, I believe.
Thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, Melinda was talking about the strategic goals or plan for the program, and those are driven by the USDA priorities. And there's a time frame listed in there of which for the duration of those current priorities. And so you'll know when you get closer to those that there's probably going to be another set of strategic priorities that are going to be released and modified into the next RFA.
Got it. There's a couple questions coming through the chat. I'll take Charlie Lee's question. Can two proposals based on a similar idea be submitted to both NSF and USDA SBIR programs?
I can answer that question, Charlie. Yes, USDA allow any sorts of similar proposal to different agencies, but one of the things you need to do in your application, the list of pending application that you applied to other agencies, you have to mention that which of the application you have applied to other agencies. That's the first thing you need to do. And then second one is, if you get funding from both USDA and NSF, you cannot do that. You cannot take both. You have to decide on one. If you accept NSF one, you have to obviously drop the USDA one. And sometimes it happens. Maybe NSF funding is a little bit higher amount compared to USDA. And then some of our awardees actually make that decision and then go from one to another. So there is no obligation not to apply with the same proposal to places, but you have to just mention those on your pending list and decide on your award.
Well, thanks, Nurun. And there's a follow-up question on that related to that is, will both proposals receive full consideration as other proposals? I'm trying to.
So if that means that, like, you can submit the same proposal to NSF and to USDA in the same year, but as Nurun emphasized, I mean, we really have to emphasize that you can only accept one award because it's there's some really negative consequences if you accepted both awards from both agencies. So you can do that. And yes, they'll receive full consideration. Yes, for both for instance, for NSF and USDA.
Excellent, that's clear. So now, since we're talking about the relationship between the two agencies, another question is how does USDA work with the I-Corps program, NSF I-Corps program? I know USDA in the past had I-Corps programs, which you probably don't have anymore. And is there any alignment between the SBIR, STTR application and outputs from the I-Corps training? If any one of you could comment on that.
Yeah, we really don't. That was, I understand that they tried the USDA, SBIR tried I-Corps prior to my being in this position. And it was, at that time, it just was not working out the way they thought it might. So they did not continue. That doesn't mean we won't consider it in the future. But no, we don't really have a strong relationship with I-Corps.
Okay, understood. So another question, you did mention that, phase 2, I was a little surprised, or maybe in my, maybe I'm naive, that phase 2s would be considered only one time, and that there was no way you could reapply even if you bolstered your application. Is there a reason for that?
The reason is just to give, so that everyone kind of has, again, a kind of a fair chance. You have one shot. And you have a fair chance. If we have a lot of prior year phase 1s applying, then we're going to have, one, we'll have a much lower success rate, which is discouraging to people. And two, it's not seen as really equitable to the most recent phase 1s. They should have the kind of first shot at a phase 2. So that's kind of why we have, it's only one chance for phase 2.
All right.
Expanding on that a little bit, that doesn't mean the company is put on a list that they can never apply for phase 2 again. If they circle back around and they receive another phase 1 award, they're certainly more than welcome to then apply again to phase 2 under that new award.
Understood. They just don't get a direct entry into phase 2. Yeah,
correct.
So,
Yeah.
so Shija, I would like to also mention that we always advise folks if they're feeling that after 8 months, phase 1 is just too quick to apply for phase 2, we always encourage them to take their time. Not necessarily within that fiscal year or next year, they have to apply. They can take a break 1 year for analyzing, writing a strong proposal, and then submit it for phase 2. So there is an option. Don't our applicant need to think that they have to do it right away.
and there is no limit before it gets too old?
It does.
Okay.
It
And
does. It mostly 2 fiscal years. We say that within 2 fiscal years, but also depends on the specific technology. It could be a little older than 2, but it is still applicable. They should check with our NPL before they start working on that.
Excellent. That's good. Great information. Thanks. So other questions, feel free to just unmute and speak. Meanwhile, everybody in this room, we're used to writing grants. We're used to, getting into the line for competitive proposals. I mean, that's bread and butter here. But this is not business as usual. This is not the kind of proposal that we put together on a regular basis. I would say the aspect of broader impact and the scientific merit and the team composition, all of them have a big play in the success of these. Can any of you comment on the usual deficiencies of these SBIR proposals in your experience? Where do these usually lack? Or is that a very hard question to answer, really? Probably it is.
The first thing that comes to mind is just not following the guidelines in the RFA. I mean, I probably talked about that in too much length about, make sure you follow those formatting and all that. But also the project proposal is really an important piece of your application. I mean, all of it is important, but make sure that we've received project proposals that are 2 pages, and you really can't explain all of the elements that are requested in the RFA of the project proposal in 2 pages. So it's all outlined in the RFA, and make sure you hit each one of those points thoroughly for the proposal.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll piggyback a little bit. I think that I'm gonna emphasize the point made by Dr. Emphasis that he was mentioning a couple of good options that how anyone should be planning and doing it. Clear objective and goals, not too many goals, and how you're gonna achieve it. This clear objective and goals is a good written proposal is the first one. But I will say rather than anything else, look at the technical merit of your proposal, because the first phase 1 is a proof of concept, feasibility testing, right? So it has to be a solid problem that you are identifying to solve, and then clearly state what are your goals and how you're going to achieve it. Not much complicated than that. Putting too less or too many sometimes is a negative one. And still in our website, there are criteria that our peer review panel based their review on 5 or 6 different criteria. Those are listed. I would suggest that someone planning to apply, those should be checked. But most of all, it should be like, it should be a good problem to solve. You should be connecting with your community that is considering a problem, that everyone wants a solution. Write a good background information of what you have in terms of your proposal, and have a solid goal and plan how you're going to execute that.
Thank you both. Actually, Charlie has another question and he stole it from me, looks like it. My next question was going to be to Anita to see if, where does UF Innovate play a role in this process? Are there resources available that our faculty can reach out to in the SBIR proposal stage?
Yes, so what we have done is we have contracted with an SBIR training company and to hold more SBIR training sessions. They also actually provide step-by-step guidance for selected applicants. We have those guidelines on our website, so reach out to us if you are interested in getting more guidance on for your SBIRs. And yeah, one question regarding the SBIR STTR process is really, the NIH and some of the other institutes actually, they have applicant assistance programs. I'm assuming that's what you talked about, where you also have SBIR STTR guidance. Is that for certain areas also that are sort of not well, where you don't get many applications, or is it only for underrepresented people?
The application workshop that we're planning for late May or early June, and it'll be repeated and it'll also be on our website. That's for everyone. That is for everyone. We're hoping to target a lot of underrepresented groups with that, but it will apply for the application process is just the application process. So it will be for everyone.
Okay. So the step-by-step guidance, you're saying, okay.
So we have the webinars that Melinda's going to has been talking about, where we will be on a regular monthly basis. We'll be going through like a more in-depth detail on the application process and how to submit those applications. We will also, after the RFA is released, we will also schedule a technical assistance webinar that will go through the specific RFA and highlight important parts of the RFA, aside from the details that are in the application webinar.
Giannis?
I just want to add something. I want to encourage everyone here to maybe serve as a reviewer. I know that you guys are looking for reviewers too, and this is the best way to better understand the process and what USDA is looking for. That helped me a lot. I know it's time consuming, but it's very important also for us to serve as reviewers. And I really want to thank USDA. I mean, this is very important. This program is very important for small companies, but especially for spin-off companies and startup companies. And if we are successful, I mean, USDA will play a critical role in that. So thank you, guys.
One more question.
Just a second. To Giannis's point, we do have a website, and my VPN has been going in and out, and I can't get to the website to grab the address. But if you Google USDA peer review system or PRS, you will go to a website, and then on that it says volunteer, or to fill out a volunteer questionnaire. That is a way to get your name in the pool for being a potential reviewer. You could also, thank you, Damien. You can also reach out to any one of us, and we can put you in contact with a national program leader that might be a topic area of interest or that would for you.
Excellent.
If you don't remember anything that Tammy said, just email sbir@usda.gov and we'll give all the information what you need as a reviewer. And we welcome your review. That's a kind of a service for a lot of other, we request a lot of people from the university to give that service as a part of the panel. So we do appreciate if you sign up for our peer review panel, and having that experience really helps at the long run for you just to understand how the review process works. And once you are submitting your application, that is one of the strongest application probably. And Dr. Ian has probably experienced that same thing, that he knows from reviewer perspective, and then once he's putting his application, he knows what to kind of check boxes. So we always encourage you, please consider to be a reviewer.
Thank you. Anita, you had a question.
Yes, I wanted to ask them if they could talk a little bit about, you know, the need for getting space or hiring people. I mean, traditionally, when you apply, you don't specifically need to have hired people or, you know, rented space. Can you touch upon that a little bit, how USDA sees that and what you all expect, you know, an applicant, somebody at the university, let's say, who's applying for an STTR to have before when they apply for a phase one.
Can you elaborate your question? I'm not quite sure which information you are looking.
Are you asking how at what preparation stage you have to be with the facility that you're going to use and staff you're going to use.
That's right, yes.
Right.
At the time of application versus at the time of award, you know, I know SBIR, the program requires certain things to be lined up, but at the time of application, what are the things that need to be lined up?
Right. Right. Well, you can't really have people hired and have space if you're depending on the money from the award. So having a plan, explaining your plan in your application is the best way to do that. You don't have to have the people on your staff yet, but you know, I guess to know, just demonstrate to us that you know how many staff you're going to need, what type of staff, what type of facility you're going to need, that type of thing. But you don't have to have them all of that secured and in place at the time of application.
This has been a really wonderful discourse. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to Shija for moderating this portion of the webinar. This has been a wonderful opportunity to learn more about the SBIR program and about entrepreneurship at UF. And so, you know, kudos to all the speakers, much appreciated, and thank you to everybody who participated. Shija, anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, just that the recording will be available to everybody. And so, you know, it's that's going to come, I believe, from Hope. And thank you again, Melinda, Tammy, and Arun, for your time, and all the speakers before that as well. This has been very engaging. Thank you. And we hope we can reach out to you. Thank you very much. Thanks, David.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.